Okay, so I'm walking this morning, my kids to school and walking back, and people were just like complimenting me on how I look. I got like three compliments, and I'm like, huh. I like when I get that one. It's like, hey, encouragement is always good. Positive vibes are always good. So I was like smiling extra this morning. Top of the morning to you guys. I am gonna run back home because one of my kids forgot their lunch bag, so I have to go and get it now. And then run back. I had my schedule planned. I was just gonna go straight to where I'm supposed to go to, and then I have to basically stop back to school and drop the lunch bag off. Motherhood. I gotta talk a little bit more about motherhood. So I'm actually at the library, but I just wanted to touch on this. I have my therapy session in about 12 minutes, so I wanted to touch on this topic and finish this topic before I forget. But as I was walking this morning, the previous clip, right, I was talking about like motherhood, right? So there are different levels to motherhood. Obviously, just like life, there's different levels in life. As you get older, you will realize that there are levels to living and there are levels to everything you experience in life. So with motherhood, um, there are different chapters, there are different phases, there are different levels. Um, I know before I had kids, I was just like thinking kids are going to be a lot. They're leeches. They just cling on to you. They don't give you a break. And in essence, yes, when they're younger, they're very clingy. Like you can't do much because they're always clingy. But as with life, nothing stays the same. Everything changes. So before I had kids, that was my mindset. Um, there was a time before, I'm looking at the time, I have 11 minutes now. There was a time before, like, I think sometime during high school where I hadn't had a lot of experiences with kids. So I was just like in this mindset, yeah, I want five, six. I want a big family because Christmas time, Thanksgiving, I just want everybody around me gathered and just smiling and having fun. And I think by college, I think when I started babysitting my cousins and the reality of like actually being around kids, raising kids hit me, and I was like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna stick with three, maybe two. So that was why I dwindled the number from six to five to about three or two. And so that was before, got married and had kids. And then I got married. I actually wanted to wait a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years, just build myself up career wise, enjoy my marriage, travel a little bit before kids came because I knew once kids come into the picture, you're like kind of stagnant for a bit. And there are some people who actually make it work, even with kids. They have help. They can travel with the kids. There are some people, but God never gives you what you can't handle. So for me, I knew I couldn't handle traveling with kids because it's stressful for me because I'm the type of person that I have to pack the food, I have to make sure everything is there. Um, I'm just very organized in that sense that I just don't know how to just carefreely just go somewhere and just kind of buy what I need there because I'm like, nah, I don't want the stress there. I'd rather be stressed out before I go to the location. So I knew traveling with kids for me wouldn't be fun. So I just didn't want to do it. For me, I guess what I was trying to say, traveling with kids, I know some people do it, but I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to kind of enjoy my years married without kids for a bit. So once that didn't happen, kids came in a year after I was married. A kid came in after a year after I was married. Um, and then a couple of kids came after. I realized that your time wasn't your time anymore, obviously. You have a newborn to run up, your sleep isn't the same, you have a newborn to be checking up on, feeding, and it's just a lot, right? So the first 4 or 5 years of a child's life, you're a servant to them. There's no like excuses about it. You're just a servant to them. And if you work, for me, I was a stay-at-home mom, but as a stay-at-home mom, morning to night, that I guess label doesn't leave you. You're constantly mommy from morning to night before you go to bed. Now, if you work, you get away from that, but it doesn't take away the fact that you're not going to feel guilty when you leave them, or you're not going to be thinking about them at work. It's still difficult either way around. But I say there's the level of stress from that 0 to 5 years is really high. Um, Check up on moms who have kids that young. So I'm still in that phase, right? I just got out of it. So I'm trying to just refocus. I have 7 minutes trying to refocus. So I was just explaining levels. I don't want to keep rambling, but there are levels to kids. So from that 0 to 5 years, you have that clingy kind of like they're dependent on you phase. And then from that 6 to about, let's say about 8, you get them trying to be independent, trying to prove that they can take care of themselves. You can give them chores and they can do it with supervision. So it gets a little easier. Now the sweet spot I feel is that nine till about 13, 9 to 12 range, because I feel like they're more independent. You can give them more chores. You can actually leave, travel. Like I just traveled to Italy, right? So the fact that I could travel to Italy and then have people take care of them, I know that they can assist the person, the caregiver, with stuff around the house. It's not just completely on the caregiver. They can shower themselves, they can make their breakfast, they can make lunch. I know I have food stored up in my house. Like once that's what I've known for. Like my fridge are fully stocked. So like there's no complaints about like I'm hungry. So they know how to go get food, they know how to warm up food, they know how to boil spaghetti, pasta, they know I have to teach them rice, but they know how to make eggs. So once they can do all that, they're a little bit self sufficient. I feel like, okay, I can now breathe, right? And I can now kind of just venture and do more stuff outside of the house without worrying about um, them necessarily, because I still worry about them as a mom, you worry about them all the time. Um, I can do that. And also, I was going to point out that like traveling now, it becomes easier because kids are really older, like that 9 to 12, like I said, 9 to 12, 9 to 13, they're older. They're able to cherish travel more. So you're not like, I'm not saying when you travel with your young kids, they're not experiencing the culture, they're not having fun, but it's a different level because they can now recall things and they can now soak up things and be appreciative of things. Whereas the little ones are just like, okay, why? Well, okay, I see something different, cool. I know for the parents, you travel with a little kid because you want to expose them to different cultures, which in turn helps them, you know, as they grow older, they have that experience, and it just shapes them into who they become in the 9 to 12 bracket, right? All traveling is all good. So either way. So but I like for me, like I said, God doesn't give you what you can't handle. I just can't handle traveling with little kids. So that 9 to 12 bracket is a sweet spot for me because I can go out with them and not worry about too much things when they travel. They can pull their own suitcases. I don't have to carry a stroller. I don't have to carry teddy bears, like things like that. Very good. So I'm in that bracket where I'm starting to form some kind of independence in them. They're starting to be self-sufficient, and I'm starting to be independent, meaning that I don't have to worry about carrying snacks all the time. I don't have to worry about stroller, all that stuff. So I love this phase because I used to hear that, like when they were growing up, I used to hear that it's easier to raise them when they're like babies to about 5 because it's more physically draining than it would be if they get to that preteen teenage years. It's more mentally demanding. Some people say it's easier to do that physical labor. At least you can go rest and kind of regain your strength. For me, I don't mind the mentally draining part because I speak. I tend to be a person who is empathetic, and I tend to understand people's feelings. So I'm able to relate more. And I do have a lot of life lessons, life advice that I can feel like I can offer. And I have a community of women around me who, if I'm not getting the results that I want in my kids, I have a community of women that I can go to kind of speak to them or give me advice. So community plays a big role in raising your kids too. It takes a village to raise kids. So that saying is not dropping from nowhere. It's actually true. I'm looking at my time. I have 3 minutes before my session begins. I'm going to come back on here. Actually, I'm not going to come back on here. That's all I wanted to share about motherhood. Motherhood is tough. Um, we just have to have a community. Um, it's tough. And I'm saying with mother, I just remember this with motherhood, you are like, especially if you're a working mom, you are juggling work plus the household chores plus anything else. Like a lot of things falls on the mom, whether they're working or staying home. That's the truth. And I know guys do a little bit here and there, but the gist of this whole thing, like a lot falls on the mom. I was watching this, I think it was the Diary of CEOs podcast, watching it on YouTube. And he interviewed a lady, I don't know her name, but she was saying the most people who are the happiest are single women and married men. Single women, because obviously, obvious, they have no kids, they have no responsibilities, they get to do things on their own terms, blah, blah, blah. And married men, because a lot of things get done for them. And married women, obviously, they're not the happiest because they do most of the stuff that concerns the family, that concerns the household, that concerns, earning an income. A lot of things fall on their plate. So obvious. But I just wanted to end up with that. I wanted to change that narrative. I have 1 minute left. I gotta go. But let me just say bye bye. But I wanted to change that narrative and just, even though I'm married, I'm a married woman. I still can have fun. I can still be happy, and that means having that single mindset without like truly living that single mindset out. I don't know what that means, but I'll explain later. I just want to finish my thought. My therapist is on a call, so she's running a little late, but that's okay. So, what I was saying, I want to change that narrative. I want to basically have a single mindset, like a single woman mindset. But I'm married, right? But have a single woman mindset, like a single woman. What would she do to make herself feel happy? She will travel. She'll take solo trips. She'll go out with her girls. Leaving the dating piece out of it because I'm married, so I can't date. But like, she would take herself out to dinner. She would make sure her community, her network, her community is strong, and she has like a strong support system. She'll make sure of that. She'll make sure that she is just taking care of herself mentally, spiritually, like everything, physically as well. So upkeep, she cares about her parents. She's not dependent on somebody else for happiness. So she's not dependent on somebody to like take her out, to tell her she's beautiful, or to all that stuff. She's self-sufficient. And so that's where I am like leaning towards now, just making sure I have that single woman mindset, but not really doing exactly what a single woman does, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's my piece on motherhood. That's my piece on trying to be happy overall. Um, yeah, life is I keep saying this in most of my videos, life is very short. And I tend to live my life intentionally. You got to live intentionally because that's the only way you can truly enjoy life. Because if you live it haphazardly, like, oh, when it happens, or when this happens, you really don't get to experience life. You just got to make sure you're intentional about everything you do in life, intentional about the people you have around you, intentional about the people, if you really love them, intentional about letting them know that you really love them, intentional about just everything.